Hello everyone, today we're going to take a look at this Dadi, great name, ultrasonic cleaner from Aliexpress. I bought this in early May and it arrived fairly quickly, so I've been using this for random cleaning jobs for a few weeks now. This thing cost me $27, which is pretty cheap for an ultrasonic cleaner, but it actually worked pretty well for me, but yeah, I'll get to that later. Before that, let's unbox it. In the box we get the manual with the usual Chinglish instructions, and below the hard foam, which would be nice if it was soft cell, but it was good enough, we get the main unit. This is how the unit looks, and the only protective film on it was the stainless steel lid, but unfortunately it is covered in stickers. It's not a big deal obviously, but it is definitely annoying. For the controls on the unit, we have a button labeled 30 watts, another one labeled 50 watts, and an on-off button. You set the timer for the 50 watt mode by pressing the 50 watt button multiple times, once per minute, and then you hit the on-off button to start the ultrasonic cleaner. For the 30 watt mode, there isn't a time setting, it's 5 minutes by default. I wouldn't recommend running anything over 5 minutes for the 50 watt setting either, but you can run it if you want to. The reason I don't recommend it is because the unit gets pretty hot, enough to boil acetone, which can be dangerous. Even if the liquid you use can work in higher temperatures, eventually the plastic enclosure may melt. Remember, this is made out of plastic, it's not one of those commercial ultrasonic cleaners, so if you need to run it for longer than 5 minutes, which you might have to do from time to time, do it in multiple parts with a few minute breaks in between. But before getting further into my experience with this unit, let's quickly take a look inside. The construction is pretty simple. There are two plastic pieces at the bottom held together by 6 self-stepper screws. Removing them, we can get inside and see the main PCB, which looks like a pretty simple board with cheap components, but at least it has a fuse for protection. Except for AC, the cables have proper connectors and they are secured in place with some elastic glue. This is nice on most electronics, but it is especially important with this one because this unit vibrates a lot by design. There are also some plastic parts for the strain relief on the AC cable, but I'd like to see something on the PCB as well. But for the price, I can't complain too much, and I think overall this is still pretty decent for the price. For the parts on the top piece of plastic, there is another PCB for the display and the buttons, which I didn't bother to remove because it will be pretty simple. And there's also the main vibrating disc, I'm sure there's a better name for that. It's glued in place and it has some mesh behind it as well. I don't know what the purpose of that mesh is, but could be something to do with ultrasonic cleaning. I'm no expert in this area, but overall the glue on it looks more than enough, so I don't expect any problems with this. So for a demonstration, I will try to clean this Dragon Heatbreak. You might think that this Heatbreak is relatively clean because you can see the light through it, but there is some build-up on the walls of it and they significantly affect my prints. I wasted a ton of high temperature CF nylon as a result, which isn't great because that filament is really expensive. But yeah, now I realize it's the fault of the Heatbreak, so it's time to clean it. In the background you can see me try inserting 2 different filaments as a demonstration, and you can see that they get stuck. Again, that's as a result of the build-up on the walls. I obviously tried the more common cleaning methods before moving on to the ultrasonic cleaner, like the hot air gun and something to clean the filament path with, which is in my case the nozzle cleaner of my desoldering gun. I spent over an hour with this combo and it didn't work well enough, so it's now time to test the ultrasonic cleaner. So for this purpose I'm going to use isopropyl alcohol to clean the Heatbreak. I would try acetone as well if it didn't work, but well, you'll see, spoiler alert, it will work pretty well. And I will also use the nozzle cleaner to assist cleaning the inside of it, but the purpose of the alcohol is to make sure the stuff on the walls get loose and then I can push them out with the nozzle cleaner. After the first 5 minutes you can see the ultrasonic cleaner already started to work and you can see some of the gunk getting out of the Heatbreak using the cleaner, so it helped for sure, but 5 minutes wasn't enough, so in the end I ended up doing 3 turns, 5 minutes each, so 15 minutes in total at the 50 watt mode to get all of the build-up out. But in the end you can see that the Heatbreak is now clean and I can push the filament through, which is a good sign. I also tried using the ultrasonic cleaner on cleaning other stuff as well, like linear rail carriages, MGN12 in this case, and nozzles, which is when I boiled acetone. In both cases the ultrasonic cleaner worked. 3 minutes of 50 watts was more than enough for the MGN12 carriages, and for the nozzles I needed about 20 to 25 minutes in total, which isn't great, but at least it worked and it managed to clean a clogged nozzle, which I again couldn't clean with a hot air gun plus nozzle needle combo. So as you can see, the ultrasonic cleaner works pretty well, even though it's the cheapest one I could find on Aliexpress. But before I end this review, I'd like to mention some of the negatives of this ultrasonic cleaner as well. Firstly, the unit is pretty loud. The less liquid you put in it, the louder it gets, but you also want little liquid in the unit for the best performance too, so be ready to move to the next room when this is running. It is pretty loud. There is also the heat issue I mentioned. This thing gets real hot real quick, enough to boil acetone as I said, but as I also mentioned, you can take a few minute breaks between runs to let this cool down. And lastly, there is the size. This is not a problem for me, but if you need to clean larger objects, this could be a problem for you, so definitely keep that in mind and make sure to check the size of whatever you want to clean and this before ordering anything. And that's it for the negatives. As I said, I'm pretty happy with this purchase, especially considering their price tag. If you're interested in buying one of these for yourself, you can find links in the description below. But that's it for this review. I hope you found this review useful. If you did, please leave me a like down below, and thanks for watching.